Welcome to the midweek devotional of Grace Gospel Church. Today's reading title is Bloom Where You Are Planted, written by Daniel Yu. Since the onset of the pandemic, the COVID-19 virus is not the only thing that's been thriving. Thriving as well are the plants inside most of our homes. After asking some plant enthusiasts, they shared that the plants give them a fresh look on life. They see things blooming against the backdrop of the COVID-19 daily count. I myself have learned about pothos, manyas, rubber plants, and etc. I also had my own trial and error with overwatering and overcaring after the deaths of about a dozen plants. Sad, I know. Propagating plants and adding new plants are our regular activities now. When I asked my fellow plant lovers why they wanted to do this, they said that blooming plants make them happy, and not just the flowers, but the blooming foliage. Reflecting on my life story, I have likewise been planted, transferred, and replanted so many times. Starting in Olongapo, where I spent my elementary days, I recalled when we joined 3 churches. We started in a Baptist church, then we moved on to a Methodist church, and then finally, a Chinese Presbyterian pioneering church. While I was still too young to do ministries then, I recall our family was involved in the church in so many ways, and every time we moved church, our involvement became deeper. I believe this is where my roots started to grow. There was nothing impressive about the soil, just a few leaves sprouting out, but the development of the xylem and phloem have started to do its work for the growth of the plant. By the time I entered high school, I was again replanted to UECP Manila. There, I started blooming as mentors and discipleship leaders cultivated me. I attended our fellowships and had discipleship grouping after every fellowship. As my professional life transported me to the Middle East, I was then again moved to an underground church. There, in the sandy, desert, dry land, I still bloomed where I was planted. Desert flowers are said to be the most beautiful. Maybe that's because in contrast to the arid landscape as a backdrop. Here, my focus was not only to bloom for myself, but to ride on the opportunities to cultivate others. Upon returning back home, I joined GGC, where I continued growing for the past 30 years. In Jeremiah chapter 17, verses 7 to 8, it says, "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. He is like a tree planted by water, that sends out its roots by the stream, and does not fear when the heat comes. For its leaves remain green, and is not anxious in the year of the drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit." As I learned to bloom wherever I was planted, I would like to encourage you to do the same. In your case, it need not be moving to another church. The opportunity may simply be going to a new ministry when it presents itself. You can be part of this Green Thumb movement to cultivate yourself and others. And what joy it is when we see them even bloom around us. And as we bloom and enable those around us to bloom, together we can create a beautiful garden in the kingdom of God amidst this dark pandemic. Happy planting, plantitos and plantitas!